There's no secret sauce. You take care of your people, you build the relationships, you follow up, you communicate, you do everything you can to make sure they know they're important and they will take care of you.
Mhm.
So we haven't ever had that. I mean, it's a very difficult market right now in many areas. In Arizona, it certainly is for our
Mhm.
sellers. And the affordability is difficult, but I just don't listen to the noise. We have a job to do. We put our head down and we figure out how to get the job done.
Hey everybody, it's Kathy Byrnes here with Real Estate Riches, and today my guest is Rebecca Durfey, and she's out of the Phoenix area in Arizona. Very exciting, and also noted as the top 1% in her MLS, and we're going to find out her secrets of how she's running her business. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
excited to have you on here. That 1% stuck out to me because as we were just talking, it's so interesting to see how agents run their business or not run their business.
Yeah,
And you really sounds like you've got this down to a science. You want to kind of give us a little background on who you are, how you got into this, and then we'll start talking about all those pieces that you've created.
sure. I have been in real estate for I think it's 23 years now, but the way I started, I had at one point I had worked for a corporation in as a paralegal just in their legal department. So I was real comfortable with contracts and the process, and I had family who were in real estate in different states, and it just felt like a natural opportunity. I have a daughter with Down syndrome, and and I have two older sons. And when she was little, I knew I wanted to do something, but I needed to have some flexibility. And obviously, our world changed because we were not ever going to be empty nesters, which I would never give up, but it just changed our direction. And so I wanted to find something that we could maybe make the ends meet, but also have some flexibility. And so she was in full day preschool just because that's what they do for this special needs. And so I started taking the classes, and it was probably 2 weeks in after I had taken my class, and my husband was out front of our home doing his yard work, and the neighbor was out front, her mother was out front, and she was telling him, as they were both doing their yard work, she was telling him how frustrated she was because her daughter and her son-in-law were getting a divorce, and she would need to sell the home, and they had a child, and it was just it was a lot of heartache for the mother. And he said, well, you need to talk to my wife. And the mother was not local, she didn't live in Arizona. And so he walked in and he said, you need to go out and talk to our neighbor. They're going to sell their house. And I said to him, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was so nervous. I was like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. It was so scary. And I realized at that point later, as I look back, I'm thinking we all have to be ready for that first transaction. I didn't really, I had some mentors who were going to help me through that first transaction, but I just didn't know where it was going to come from. And I went out and talked to her. It turned out to be a very difficult, that was back in the day when we didn't have DocuSign. And,
Mm,
we had faxes, and it was just a different world.
yeah.
And it was a very difficult transaction because there was so much emotion, and they moved out and they left half the contents of their home. And this person buying was going to be my next door neighbor.
Mm.
And it was just a really, now you'd get in so much trouble, but I had somebody come just haul everything out. I didn't know what to do. The day was closing, but since then I've always had something in the works. So it's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that story. You
Oh,
know, because so many agents do just have to dive in. You just got to figure it out.
and you got to be ready for that. It's coming. You've got to be ready for the first one.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Oh, that's great. And so you have created, you're a solo agent with a support team, as you said,
mhm,
right? So
yeah.
tell us about that and what made you decide that would be a smart way to go.
I think people know, agents know when you miss a deadline, or you feel frantic, when you need help.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes we're hesitant to get that help because in some cases you don't know if you'll have the money to cover a family's needs. Or for me, my first assistant was back prior to the crash, to the 2007 2008 financial crash, and she just stopped. It was too much for her. It was so emotional. It was so difficult. And she just sort of shut down. And I was left kind of hanging. I didn't know what to do. So I went for quite a while without an assistant because I never wanted to do that again. I was like, that was so hard. And I just knew I could rely on me. And then I started seeing it ramp up again. And I started seeing that my production wasn't changing. I wasn't getting growth. I wasn't, and I hired Sherry about 11 years ago, maybe, yeah, about 11 years ago. And she wasn't an agent. I picked her out of just somebody who I know was very detail oriented, somebody I call a doer, very service oriented. And, and she went and got her license very fast. I mean, she slammed through probably 3 weeks and she just really put in the effort. And then she's been with me ever since. And I had met with some agents who told me give a percentage to your your assistant, and so I just decided to do a percentage. So as we grew, we do about, I don't know, 58 to 60 million a year. She obviously, her income has grown tremendously, but she's valuable and she brings so much to the table. So she's probably paid more than other assistants by 2 or 3 times, but she's valuable to we have a very well-oiled machine. And so, and then of
Well,
course I have a PLLC, so I pay myself. And then my husband's our director of operations. We pay him through a W-2. But yeah, it was just, you just do not want to let things slide through the cracks. It's not worth it. You
it's not
cannot
worth it.
grow at a certain point. I talked to an agent today who was sending a referral from Wisconsin, and she said, I'm at about 10 million and I can't do any more than that. I totally get that. But as a single agent without assistance and without support, that's a lot. It feels overwhelming. I didn't want to turn down any work. I didn't want to turn down any opportunities, and I wanted to grow and I wanted to be a business. And so that's why I just hire each time I need something, I hire that person.
And how did you do that fearlessly? Because that's a big factor there. Why agents don't. They're afraid of the money, even though it's a percent. And also even the assistants saying, yes, I'll say yes to a percent, and knowing that if it doesn't close, they don't get paid either.
Yeah. Well, I think for us, it was good to have skin in the game for Sherry because there was every effort to make sure nothing fell through the cracks on our side. Things don't close. We know that happens.
Mhm.
But, um, I used to say all the time, and I still believe this, everything could go away tomorrow. We never know what's going to happen. But there's no secret sauce. You take care of your people, you build the relationships, you follow up, you communicate, you do everything you can to make sure they know they're important, and they will take care of you.
Mhm.
So we haven't ever had that. I mean, it's a very difficult market right now in many areas. In Arizona, it certainly is for our
Mhm.
sellers. And the affordability is difficult, but I just don't listen to the noise. I just, we have a job to do. We put our head down and we figure out how to get the job done. And it's not fun for a lot of, if you bought a home after 2022 in Arizona, you likely don't have equity, and it's not been down, but it's sideways. And so you
Yeah.
just can't, you have to know, keep going forward, keep pushing, and you'll always have business. There's enough work for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I loved what you just said. I don't pay attention to the noise because that's mindset. That
Yeah,
is mindset right there. And we absolutely have to not listen to the noise because then you're allowing all that negative energy into your world that's going to sabotage your own belief system even. Like,
right,
am I ever going to make another sale? What's going to happen and is it all going to fall apart? That's how you go down bunny trails that aren't
right,
good. And
true,
for me, it was when I did my business starting, it was just non-negotiable not to succeed. I was going to
right,
figure it out. And
right.
just like really, unless you're a realtor who does this as a hobby, which I wish you'd just get out of the business, please.
Yeah,
And because this is a business and
right,
it's not a hobby. And there's a lot of couples where the spouse works and they're just kind of getting some extra income. And I get that, wanting some extra income. But man, there are people like you and me that this is serious business here. And I'm going to run it like a business and I'm going to be I'm going to be knowledgeable because I'm running it like a business. I mean, my clients can really count on me because I've got systems in place, how to follow up. And even if I didn't have systems in place like that $10 million gal where she's stuck, she isn't just at a point where she believes that she can hire somebody yet.
Right.
And that I remember when I was at Remax one time, I had a business partner and I said, we need an assistant. And my business partner said no. And the franchise owner said, no, you're not at 100,000 in
Level. Oh.
earnings. And I go, well, I'll never get there unless I do it. I said, see bigger people, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think like what you said was very important is because I don't listen to the noise, but I'm very aware of the data. So
Yes,
knowing how to do your job is different than getting sidetracked by all the swaying opinions, and the data is unemotional. And so it's going to tell us the trajectory. And I am in the data every single day so that my clients don't have to be, you know. And so
yes,
as long as we know what we're doing, I don't care about anyone's opinions. There's all the D's are happening, the death, the diamonds, the downsizing, the
mhm,
diplomas, all those things are happening where people are buying and selling homes all the time. So I
right.
just need to tap into who they are, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And are you doing that on social media where you're telling clients about the data? How are you
Yeah,
doing that?
I do. I mean, I have somebody that helps me with social media. I don't have time to focus on it. I'm not a social media heavy person. I
Hmm.
do put my clients' homes out. I do, all of that. I do put the data out there. I also send it directly to my database every month.
Oh,
So I give them there's a commentary that my analyst, I'm on a Zoom call with my analyst every week, and
mhm.
they give us the numbers and what's happening and what we think is going to happen. So I share that. I share it with my clients every week as well. So I just try and make sure that there's not a question mark of what's happening or what's next, or
Yeah.
I
So
try and
you're
make
doing that internally in your own database versus outgoing. So do you have a sizable database?
Actually, I do not have compared to other people. I was in a Gary Keller mastermind, and somebody had talked about having 60,000 people. I don't do calls. I've never done a cold call or a knock a door or whatever. That's not my business model. But I was in this thing and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a loser. I have probably 1,200 people. Some of those are couples,
Yeah, yeah.
but I do. And so I was talking to a gentleman one time. I had had a coach one time, and he said, well, Rebecca, what's the difference? I mean, you know every single person in your database, and someone with 60,000 or 20,000, those are probably just collected and they don't know them all. But I can tell you what house they bought. I can, if I look up an address, I know exactly what it looks like. So I do know my database intimately, and I think they know me intimately, and they take care of me, and I take care of them.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I love that. So tell me, how are you incorporating AI into your business?
I'm not incorporating it as much as maybe some people are. I use AI every day, but I'm not. I do my own description write-ups in the MLS, but that's because I really like doing it. The
Hmm.
AI can do it a lot faster, but I like doing that. But I use AI to create lists, and I use AI to create upgrade data. And so I will throw something in AI and say, formulate a bill of sale contract. So I use it all the time. I
Hmm.
just I don't use it in a way that replaces the authenticity of me, but I do, there's no way I just think it's foolish if we're not using it because
Yeah.
it's so helpful. Just saves us so much time.
Well, that's exactly the key point right there. It saves time. For me, I teach it to a lot of agents because I want them to learn how to systemize the things that they're already doing so that it can be done more efficiently, even better than
Yeah.
we're creating. I was just working on a LinkedIn post. Well, as a matter of fact, I was working on a LinkedIn post, and I want to talk about this in a minute. A LinkedIn post about this whole compass thing. And on Tuesday, that one went out at a very specific time. Because I strategized my timing on my
Yeah,
post.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it went out at Tuesday at 8:30, just like I'd planned. 12,000 views. It got
Wow.
12 shares, and I'm like blown away. That's never happened. I'm like, wow. So then I do another one that I did yesterday. And wait, that was last week I did it. So this was yesterday, Tuesday. It only went to like 500 people, and I got no comments, and I put it into chat. Well, I don't use chat. This was into Claude. So
Yeah.
I put it into Claude, and I said, here was number one and here was number two. I said, what did I do different? And I was too heavy into coming to me on the second one. And I said, I feel like that's the problem. I was trying to pitch me instead of let's talk about the issue,
Information. Yeah.
right? And it said, you got that right, Kath. And I go, could you not have told me that when we were creating it? You know?
Well, I will say my social media person uses it all the time.
Yeah.
So if I get an award, I just don't like to put that stuff out there. So she
Mm.
does. And I told her, please just make it, to downplay it. Don't make it a bit. So she'll put it in chat GPT and she'll be
Yeah.
like, low key, whatever, and gratitude. And, so
Yeah.
he uses it for almost all of our posts. So
Yes.
yeah, that's very helpful.
Well, I find, and you can study the analytics. You know, you talk about the different numbers that you're watching. I, I went into the analytics of LinkedIn, and I also added that to Claude. I said, here's the analytics on each one. I said, I don't want to make
Interesting.
that mistake again. How do I fix that mistake? How do I go forward? Because I don't want to make that mistake again. I like those 12,000 people or views out there, and I loved
Yeah.
all the shares because it was strong and made great connections, which was my goal.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about this whole Compass merger?
And that to me, that's part of the noise is I
Mm,
think, I've heard for years you can't be a successful solo agent. You have to have a team. I've heard for years you have to be in one of the big businesses, one of the big brokerages, or you're not going to be successful. I just feel like the people out there that are looking for our service aren't looking at whether you're with Compass or with Remax or with EXP or Keller Williams. They're just looking at, are you going to do the job for me? Are you going to get me the result I'm looking for? And so we all care about that, we agents, because it matters. We like to follow up on that, know what's happening and who fired who and who's now the CEO and all that.
yeah,
None of my clients care about that.
right.
And so somebody said, are you guys going to be replaced eventually by AI? Are you guys going to, I've heard everything. And I just say all the time, no, we're not. You're not going to buy a home without touching, smelling, feeling that home. And I'm your eyes and ears, and I will, I'll be the guide. But
Yeah,
now our lives might adjust through AI or through some of these big brokerages merging or whatever the case, but when it comes down to the client, I don't think, as long as I can provide the service I'm going to provide, and I'm not going to be sparse on any of that, then I think that's all I care about.
I agree with that. The one thing that I saw in one of my responses on my post about it was that no agent, what was it? It was about the firm. The woman was no
Mm.
longer with Coldwell Banker, and she'd been with Coldwell Banker, she'd been with Compass, and she was with another firm now. And for me, and I've been with five. So for me,
Mm.
you're looking till you find your niche, right? You're looking
Right.
till the right fit. And she was saying, people are always going to buy from established brands. And I thought, they're not going to buy from established franchise brands anymore. They're buying you. They're picking
That is
you. They're
exactly
picking
right.
me. And
Mhm.
so I don't believe in that whole thing of the brand, that brand, not the company brand. It's me, the brand.
Right. There are always going to be people who want to see a big name behind you.
Mm,
That's a certain buyer or seller.
yeah.
But the typical buyer or seller, they I have Keller Williams for very specific purposes for me. It fit
Hmm.
exactly what you're saying. It fit what I needed. Could there be another firm brokerage? Sure. But if I went back to my smaller brokerage that I was with for 20 years,
Oh,
I
wow.
it would be fine. I would still have the same clients. They would
Yeah.
not say, "Oh, I'm not going to use you now." So I agree. I think there's a lot of talk about there's not going to be any small brokerages anymore, no boutique brokerages. That might be the case if they're losing money or if they can't hang on because of this difficult market. But I don't think that's so much because we've had this big merger and there's conglomerates. I think it's more smaller brokerages. It costs a lot of money to run a brokerage. you
It
know?
costs a lot of money to run a
Yeah.
brokerage, and that's I do think the boutiques will fade away because of the mindset of needing an office. I don't believe you need an office.
Well, Kathy, are you seeing, because I just had a mastermind with some top agents last week, and one of those guys who I've talked for years, he had his own brokerage.
Mhm.
He went to a different brokerage because he still could keep all his people and move to that brokerage, but he had the cloud type mentality. I don't need an office space. I don't savings 15,000 a month. So yeah, I think you're right. They'll
Well, and I'm with EXP. So for me,
Mhm.
yes. Well, I think
Yeah.
what we saw during COVID was COVID proved you didn't need an office. And I was with KW at the time. I was
Mhm.
with KW and uh, I looked around, and this is before I even ever heard of EXP. I just looked around and saw the office was fairly empty, except for
Mhm.
the ones that are struggling and needed support who wanted to try and tag in and learn some stuff because KW hires a lot of new agents. So
Right.
those agents were there. The seasoned agents were not there. And when I joined EXP, it wasn't like I even knew anything about it. I had just joined a team, and because I was going through, my business partner and I had broken, our partnership had broken up. I got fired from a previous firm because I questioned the owner's integrity. I was one of their top listing agents, and so I had 48 hours to figure out where I was going to go.
Oh.
And friends of mine who were at KW said, just come sit by us, get settled. And I also I was taking care of my mother with dementia. And
Mhm.
so a lot of personal things were happening. My
Mhm.
assistant was hired away by that firm that fired me. And so, like you, when you're not used to doing what the assistant does, I was paralyzed
Oh, absolutely.
paralyzed.
Yeah.
And then I was with KW. I think I was there about 8 months, and they even offered me coaching position there. I turned that down only because I didn't like their tech. I'm a techie,
Mhm.
and I didn't like the coaching that was going on in that particular office. And I thought, that's not me. So, and I needed the money. But
Yeah.
I let that go, and that's when the team asked me if I wanted to join their team. And they were a mega team
Uh-huh.
doing big dollars. And I said, sure. And 2 weeks later, they said, we're going to EXP. I said, I don't even know what that is. I'll go. I trust you guys. And that's exactly how I moved over there. And that was
Yeah.
a little over 8 years ago. It was a great move for me.
Yeah.
Um, and because I'll be 76 this summer. So
Oh, you look amazing.
thanks.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I try and get a little filter going on Zoom,
I just
but
wear as much jewelry as possible so nobody's looking, you know. Like
oh gosh. Well, anyway, but the cloud base, I really saw that made sense because
Yeah.
after COVID, that KW office was empty.
Yeah.
And
I
and
think
so
most of the brokerage
yeah,
offices
it's
got
not just
empty.
KW,
Yeah.
it was all of them.
Yeah.
And I knew their overhead at that office. So
Oh,
if they're
yeah.
so now you got the little guy who's
Yeah.
got the overhead, and then the agents aren't producing because the market's a disaster. Then the owner of that little one is trying to do it all. And
It,
so, and I
I do think it's going to really impact that person, you know.
yes, I do too.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to be the hero and say, come check out EXP.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and not everybody obviously will come here, and many leave EXP,
Yeah.
but they also come back too. So it's a
For your
choice.
same reason that we're all trying to figure out
Yeah.
what's the niche? What are we trying to,
Yeah.
where do we fit?
Where do
You
we fit? Where do we
Yeah.
fit? And so, yeah, you brought up some good points. And for me, mine fits, yours fits, it's all good. And I think the relation, to me, it's always been a relationship business.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I had
Yeah.
a friend who did that Mike Ferry stuff, and I'm not knocking it because he made a boatload of money. And I know many who just, and I even went to one of their events to see what is this all about? Because I was never wanting to do that ever.
Yeah.
And, but I saw the mentality and the focus and the systems that they got into, and I saw the dollars that they were making. But I
Yeah.
said to my friend John, I said, John, are you following up with any of your people, or are you just always dialing for dollars? And he was. He was never working like you or me working our existing database. I want repeats. I want raving fans. And
And that's exactly what you probably have because that's what those people, I don't know if it's because in my age, I may have like a more nurturing, motherly kind of part of me because I feel like these are my family. I want to take care of them. And
Mhm.
I met yesterday with a gentleman. I was in interview for a listing, and it was a high dollar listing, and he had multiple agents that he was interviewing, and he said, "You're very much a relationship agent." And I said, "I am. Transactional agents might work for somebody. More power to them. Go do your thing, but I'm not in it for today. I'm in it for forever, you
Yeah.
know." So it makes a difference, I think. And there'll always be those people who are like one and done, they don't care, they want to just do their thing. But the value in those relationships, yeah.
Well, what's your end game? If that's your deal and you're always, what's your end game? You
Yeah,
know, you'll always be doing that.
yeah,
Me, I want an end game. So, and the end game can be where now I get referrals, I get business, but I can refer it out because I don't need to do it anymore.
right,
Not that I'm gone. Well, for me, I'm possessed, so I do a lot of training and I do a lot of international business as well. So
right.
I don't see myself quitting, but I do see local buyers and sellers not being my deal anymore.
Yeah.
More outgoing referrals.
But
And
what a beautiful career that you don't have to quit.
yes.
That you can do things that you love, but you
Mhm.
can also manage your time and send this
Yes.
out here and send this out here. Know you're taking care of your people still,
Yep.
and even in my situation with my son, I'm like, I get to hand this as, he better take really good care of everybody, but I'm going to hand this off and I'm not going anywhere for at least 10 years. I keep
Sure.
telling him, don't plan on me going anywhere, but in 10 years, they will all know you. You
Yeah.
will be a part of this and you will become a part of just, we will become the same and they'll be comfortable. But I don't want
Yeah.
anyone to feel like I'm going anywhere.
Well, and the truth is, their kids have got kids and they got
Yeah.
grandkids and all of that. That's how it evolves.
Yeah.
And I had one client, I must have done 14 transactions with between her and her family, and
Wow.
they were all waterfronts. I really liked what they were
Oh,
doing.
wow. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So that was great. Well, this has been wonderful. Any additional tips you'd like to share with us?
I think if there was any tip I would share, it would be just there's no secret. There's no I always say I don't ever claim to be the best. I don't like that feeling of saying I'm the best, but I also say I don't think anybody's better. And by that I mean know what you're doing. I get people wanting to be part-time, but this is the biggest financial decision of someone's life. And when I'm taking care of my side and working with another agent that does not know what they're doing, I'll help that agent any way I can. But ultimately, I really worry about their client. Like, I just want so badly for people to, if you're going to do this career, do it right, treat it with respect. I have a son that's a physician, and I always say he saves lives, but we change lives. We can make such a huge difference, good or bad. And
Hmm.
so I would just say, know what you're doing, treat people right, be honest. I'll just share this quick story. My dentist for years, he was my dentist and he had bought a beautiful home and he said to me one time, "Would you come look at my home and see if you can list it?" And he told me a story. I said, "Well, who bought it with you and why are you not using them?" And he said when he moved to the valley, he got in the car with this gentleman and he had a post-it note on his dash and it had three addresses. And on the three addresses underneath it had the amount of money he would make on each of those addresses. And he said, I don't know if he knows I saw that. But he said, I felt so gross. I just felt like I mean nothing to you.
Wow.
And I just never, that was many years ago. I've never forgotten that. If it's ever about the money, then
Mhm.
we've got to do something different. It can never be about us. It can never be about the money. It can never be about pride. It has to be what is right for the client, no matter what.
Right.
So
It's integrity. It's
yeah,
integrity too.
right.
Yeah. Well, that was
Absolutely.
great. Well, Rebecca, I've loved having you on here.
Thank you. Thank
This
you.
has
I
been
appreciate
great.
it. It's been fun to talk with you.
Yes. Well, that's it for another one, everybody. So I hope you subscribe and really love this channel. And we'll have all of Rebecca's information down below so you can reach out to her. She's in the Phoenix area. She does the North Valley, did you say?
Yeah, all of the North Valley. I mean, I go all over, but that's my specialty. Yeah.
That's great. So
Mhm.
you can reach out to her and she will be excellent at her job, as you can tell. Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
Kathy.
Let's book a strategy call and see how it would look in your eyes. And if you're thinking, man, I'd like to have a conversation with Kathy Byrnes. Maybe I'd like to be part of this EXP company and see what it's all about. That sounds good to me. Let's book a strategy call and let's have a talk. No pressure, but man, it's worth a conversation. The link's in the description.